The evening was supposed to be a celebration. My recent promotion at work had given me a sense of pride I hadn't felt in years. To mark the occasion, I decided to host a small gathering at our house. It was the perfect way to introduce my wife, Amanda, to my colleagues and show her off as the beautiful, witty woman I had always admired. Little did I know, the night would unravel in ways I never anticipated. The first few hours of the party went smoothly. Amanda was the epitome of charm, mingling effortlessly with my friends and sharing stories. She was always good at making people laugh, which was one of the things I loved about her. But as the evening progressed and the drinks flowed, her jokes started to take on a sharper edge, directed squarely at me. It started innocuously enough. Amanda teased me about how clumsy I was in the kitchen. I chuckled along, brushing it off. But then she started making comments about my physical appearance. "Oh, Mark? He's got the smallest hands I've ever seen on a man," she said with a laugh that sounded louder than it needed to be. The room filled with polite chuckles, but I could see some of my friends exchanging awkward glances. I tried to redirect the conversation, but Amanda wasn't done. "And you know what they say about men with small hands, right?" she quipped, smirking as she took another sip of wine. The laughter that followed felt deafening. My face burned with humiliation. By the time she made a joke about how some men just don't measure up where it matters most, I was ready to disappear. My friends tried to change the subject, but the damage was done. Amanda had crossed a line, and she knew it. After the party ended, I confronted her. "Why would you say those things? Especially in front of my friends?" I asked, my voice trembling with a mixture of hurt and anger. "Relax, Mark," she replied, rolling her eyes. "It's just a joke. Don't be so sensitive." Her dismissiveness only deepened the sting. For weeks after that night, I couldn't shake the feeling of inadequacy. Every time I walked into the office, I wondered if my colleagues saw me differently now. Amanda's words played on a loop in my mind, eroding the confidence I had worked so hard to build. It wasn't long before I noticed Amanda becoming increasingly distant. She spent more time out of the house, claiming she was busy with work or meeting up with friends. I wanted to believe her, but the nagging doubt planted by her behavior made it difficult. Then, one evening, she left her phone on the kitchen counter while she stepped into the shower. A notification popped up, an incoming message from someone named Ryan. Curiosity and suspicion got the better of me, and I opened the message. What I saw shattered me. Their exchange was filled with flirtatious texts, suggestive photos, and plans for a weekend getaway. Amanda had been seeing Ryan for months, using every opportunity to belittle me while seeking validation from someone else. When I confronted her, she didn't deny it. Instead, she blamed me. "You've been so insecure lately, Mark," she said. "I needed someone who made me feel alive. Someone who satisfied me." Her words cut deeper than any of her previous jabs. It wasn't just about the infidelity. It was the realization that she had deliberately torn me down, making me feel small to justify her actions. I filed for divorce shortly after. The process was painful, but with time, I began to rebuild my life. Therapy helped me understand that her actions and words weren't a reflection of my worth, but of her own insecurities. Today, I'm in a much better place. I've surrounded myself with people who uplift and respect me. And while Amanda's betrayal left scars, it also taught me a valuable lesson. Never let anyone, not even someone you love, define your self-worth. In the months following the divorce, I dedicated myself to rediscovering who I was without the weight of Amanda's shadow looming over me. I joined a gym, not to appease anyone else's expectations, but to build my confidence. It became a sanctuary where I could channel my frustrations into something constructive. Over time, I started to feel stronger, not just physically but emotionally. Work also became a haven. My colleagues, the same ones who had witnessed Amanda's cruel jokes, were surprisingly supportive. A few of them even apologized for laughing that night, admitting they hadn't known how to react in the moment. Their understanding made it easier for me to let go of the embarrassment and focus on moving forward. But the biggest turning point came when I met Claire. It was at a networking event for my industry. Claire was the keynote speaker, a brilliant woman with an infectious passion for her work. She exuded confidence, but what struck me most was her warmth and humility. We ended up talking after her speech, and, to my surprise, the conversation flowed effortlessly. Over the next few weeks, Claire and I began to see more of each other. She was nothing like Amanda. Where Amanda had used words to cut me down, Claire used hers to build me up. She listened intently, encouraged my dreams, and reminded me of the qualities I had forgotten I possessed. One evening, after a few months of dating, I confided in Claire about my past. I told her about Amanda's cruel words, the betrayal, and how it had left me questioning my worth. Claire took my hands in hers, looked me straight in the eye, and said, "Mark, the size of your heart and your character matter far more than anything else. Don't ever let someone else's insecurities diminish your light." Her words stayed with me, serving as a balm for wounds I hadn't even realized were still healing. With Claire's encouragement, I started to dream again. Big dreams that extended beyond just surviving. I began taking risks at work, pitching bold ideas that eventually led to another promotion. I also discovered a passion for mentoring others, helping them find their confidence as I had rediscovered mine. Amanda tried to reach out once, months after the divorce was finalized. She sent me a long email, apologizing for her behavior and asking if we could meet to talk things through. For a brief moment, I considered it, but then I realized there was nothing left to say. Closure wasn't something she could give me. It was something I had already found within myself. I didn't respond to her email. Instead, I focused on the life I was building, a life that was finally free of the constant self-doubt and belittlement that had once defined it. Today, I'm happier than I ever thought possible. Claire and I are planning a future together, one built on mutual respect, kindness, and love. And while the scars from my past remain, they serve as reminders of my resilience. I've learned that no matter how small someone tries to make you feel, your worth isn't determined by their perception. It's determined by your own belief in yourself. As Claire and I continued to build our life together, I began reflecting on the journey that had brought me to this point. What struck me most was how much I had grown. The man Amanda had belittled and betrayed was a shadow of who I had become. I no longer sought validation from others, nor did I allow their opinions to dictate my sense of self-worth. Claire and I often talked about our pasts, sharing lessons we'd learned from our struggles. She had her own stories of heartbreak and resilience, which only deepened my respect for her. Together, we created a relationship rooted in honesty and emotional safety. For the first time in my life, I felt truly seen and appreciated for who I was, not for who someone wanted me to be. One evening, as we sat on the porch watching the sunset, Claire turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "Mark," she said softly, "have you ever thought about helping others who've gone through similar experiences? You've come so far, and I think your story could inspire others." Her suggestion sparked something in me. I realized that sharing my journey could indeed help others who were struggling to overcome feelings of inadequacy or betrayal. I began writing a blog, detailing the lessons I had learned about self-worth, resilience, and moving forward after heartbreak. To my surprise, the blog gained traction, and I started receiving messages from people who said my words had given them hope. The more I shared, the more empowered I felt. I wasn't just healing myself, I was helping others heal too. Eventually, I started speaking at small events, much like the one where I had met Claire. Public speaking was something I never thought I'd be comfortable with, but standing in front of those audiences and seeing the impact my story had on others was profoundly rewarding. Amanda's name came up again one day, though not in the way I expected. A mutual acquaintance mentioned that she had gone through some difficult times since our divorce. It was hard to hear about her struggles, but I didn't feel the bitterness I once had. Instead, I felt a sense of closure. I realized that her actions had been a reflection of her own pain and insecurities, not my shortcomings. Life continued to unfold beautifully. Claire and I got engaged during a trip to Italy, a place we had both dreamed of visiting. Standing together on a balcony overlooking the Tuscan hills, I felt a deep sense of gratitude, not just for her, but for every step of the journey that had led me to her. On our wedding day, as I stood at the altar waiting for Claire, I thought about the man I had become. Stronger, wiser, whole. When she walked down the aisle, her eyes shining with love and joy, I knew that I had finally found the partnership I had always deserved. Our life together isn't perfect, no one's is. But it's filled with mutual respect, kindness, and a deep understanding of what it means to love and be loved. Amanda's words no longer haunt me. Instead, they remind me of how far I've come and the strength I've gained in the process. Looking back, I wouldn't change a thing. Every hurt, every challenge, every moment of doubt, it all shaped me into the person I am today. And for that, I am profoundly grateful. As the years passed, the life Claire and I built together became a testament to the power of healing and resilience. Our home was filled with love and laughter, a stark contrast to the tension and doubt I had once lived with. Together, we created a space where we could both thrive, supporting each other's dreams and celebrating our shared successes. Claire continued to inspire me in countless ways. Her unwavering belief in my potential encouraged me to expand my efforts to help others. What began as a simple blog evolved into a published book, a memoir detailing my journey through heartbreak, self-discovery, and the pursuit of authentic love. Titled Reclaiming Myself, Rising Above Insecurity and Betrayal, the book struck a chord with readers around the world. The response was overwhelming. People shared their stories of feeling inadequate, being torn down by others, and learning to rebuild themselves. Knowing my words could touch lives in such a meaningful way was one of the most fulfilling experiences of my life. I began traveling for book signings and speaking engagements, meeting people who reminded me of my past self and showing them that change was possible. One day, I received an email that caught me off guard. It was from Amanda. Her message was heartfelt, a mixture of apology and reflection. She admitted she had been battling her own demons during our marriage, projecting her insecurities onto me because she didn't know how to face them herself. Amanda said she had read my book and was both humbled and inspired by it. She wanted me to know that she was working on becoming a better person, and she thanked me for sharing our story in a way that, while honest, was never vindictive. I read her words with a calm heart. It was a stark contrast to the emotions her actions used to stir in me. I replied, wishing her peace and continued growth, but I didn't feel the need to reopen a connection. That chapter of my life was closed, but her reaching out reminded me of how far we had both come. Claire and I welcomed a child into our lives, a beautiful baby girl named Sophie. Parenthood brought a new depth to our bond and a fresh perspective on life. I wanted to be the kind of father Sophie could look up to, someone who demonstrated strength, kindness, and resilience. I often thought about the lessons I wanted to teach her, that her worth was inherent and non-negotiable, that love should lift her up, and that she should never let anyone make her feel small. As Sophie grew, so did my resolve to make the world a better place for her. I started a nonprofit organization aimed at supporting individuals recovering from emotional abuse and betrayal, offering resources, counseling, and community support. The organization became a beacon of hope for many, a way to channel my pain into purpose. Through it all, Claire was my rock and I was hers. Our marriage wasn't perfect. No relationship is, but it was rooted in love, mutual respect, and an unshakable belief in each other. We navigated challenges as a team, always keeping our commitment to honesty and kindness at the forefront. Looking back, I realized that the journey that began with Amanda's betrayal was never about her. It was about me, about rediscovering my worth, finding my voice, and learning to demand more from life and love. Today, as I stand in my office, looking at the framed photo of Claire, Sophie, and me laughing together on a sunny beach, I feel an overwhelming sense of peace. The pain of the past no longer defines me. Instead, it has become the foundation for the life I've built, a life filled with love, purpose, and the unwavering belief that no matter how far we fall, we always have the strength to rise again.